So guys, today we will be designing swingarm, wheels and handlebar for our e-bike in SolidWorks. Keep watching. Hola amigos, this is Somveer and welcome to my channel Mechanics Dude. In this video series we are designing an e-bike from scratch where we will design the bike and the components in SolidWorks in first phase, and in the next phase we will try to fabricate it physically. So in previous video we designed monoshock, fork assembly and the 333 assembly, and I will provide the link in the description as well as in the cards. Please have a look. So in this video we will continue our SolidWorks designing and we will design wheels, swingarm and the handle. But before starting the video, I am very proud to present the new logo for our YouTube channel. Also we have page on Instagram and Facebook. I'll provide the link in the description. Please go and follow. This logo is designed by one of my closest friend and he is an upcoming designer. He is on Instagram as Illustrate Creation, as you can see on this side of the video. He takes on various projects of designing like logo design, UI design for the app. You can check out his Instagram profile in the link below. Also, as we are designing the e-bike for ourselves, there are some links in the description and there are some great bike components which you can buy if you directly want to go to the physical fabrication phase. So, without wasting any time, let's dive into the video.
So, today we are going to design various parts of our e-bike like wheel, swingarm, handle, etc. While designing, there can be many unknown challenges or details which we as designers miss or we want to include them later. So this is the perk of being a designer. We need to reiterate our design a lot of time to get the desired result. By the end of this video, we will get to know why it is essential for designers to redesign their parts again and again. So first we will start with the swing arm. So this is the basic diagram. And I have some dimensions from the real part that I took from Discover 125. So once I am done with the base diagram, I used the weldment feature to provide the structure to it. I did some trimming, provided gussets to it, which can easily be provided using the gusset function in the weldments tab. After that, I need to give something here so that it can be attached to the frame. Cut some part of it. I took a plane and extruded a circular part from where the nut and bolt can be used to fasten it to the frame. I used Boss Extrude to fill this area. Mirrored it on the other side. Now we use Cut Extrude to cut a area where the wheel will be fastened to the swing arm. For the sake of mating, I used a circular cut here of 1 mm so that I can use this as mate to the wheel. We need to provide support for the monoshock. So I extruded 2 parts from here. I used the fillet function to give it a proper shape. As I extruded, we can see that there is some part of it inside the cross structural member. So I used cut extrude to remove this part from the structure. So with this, our swing arm is complete. Moving on to the next part, here is our wheel. I designed it according to the dimensions of real wheel, and also every designer have different techniques and different specifications of how they create the design. So today I'll provide one of my ideas. So this is very basic design which can be completed in 2 to 3 steps. First of all, I made a sketch on a plane with the appropriate dimensions, and which can vary according to the wheel or the designer. I used the revolve so that I can get this shape. After that, I used this plane of the wheel to cut some parts, as we can see here. But still, it is looking very rough. So we used some fillets to make it smooth. And the last part will be to use the revolve function to create the outside shape of the tire. There are 2 things we can do. We can either extrude some threads on it, we can pattern it around the wheel, or as I did, we can use the appearance function of SolidWorks and give it a texture of tire. Like if we go into appearance and we go into rubber and we go into texture, we can find tire tread and we can use this to save our time. Also, the design will require some adjustment. So for now, I will be using this tire for the front also. Moving on to the handlebar holder, as I call it, I use the concept of stacking extrude function on top of each other to get the desired shape. First, I created these two, which behaves as nuts. After that, I extruded these two parts. After that, I extruded this. I designed on the top surface and cut extruded these parts. I cut extruded on from this surface. After that, I cut extruded some holes in it. After that, I used the fillet functions to give it a smooth finish. And at last, to hold the handle, I cut extruded a circle of 1 inch. As we know, our handle will be of 1 inch. So moving on to our handle, we need to sketch the base diagram using the dimensions from the net. Once we are done with the diagram, as we know that handlebar is not in one plane exactly, it is quite inverted from this shape. So I take a plane that is 10 mm from the front plane so that I can give it a look of inverted handlebar. I just pick 2 dots on this plane and these 2 dots will be used to draw our 3D sketch on it so that we can sweep our profile around it. After that, plane perpendicular to this plane so that I can draw my profile on this plane. I drew a circle, pasted it on the line and used the sweep function so that it can sweep the path and we get a good handlebar. As we are done with the handlebar, we need to move on to the frame so that we can provide some tabs so that we can attach swing arm and the shocker to it. I used the 3D diagram already I have. I took a plane on this pipe. I extruded this tab in a rectangular form and then I cut extruded these two. There is a different design procedure I used for this tab, which I will tell in a moment. So we move on to the assembly. So this is the final assembly of our bike. First, I inserted the swing arm. I used the concentric mate. I imported the rear wheel, and in the design of the swing arm, I gave a small circle cut on the swing arm. I used this circle to be concentric with the tires so that they align to each other. I imported the monoshock, mated with the tabs that are present on the swing arm, and then we extrude a rectangle from the frame beforehand and we align the monoshock in the shape we want. Now the trick I used here is, if we click on the component, it will give us a function of component display. So I used wireframe. So now when we use wireframe, we can look through the extruded components. We can use the assembly in a way so that we can also draw on the components. So using the same function, I use the advantage of wireframe in invisibility so that I can convert this entity on our frame. So using this, we created our tab for the shocker on the frame. So first of all, I imported the pt.3 lower and upper, and it was quite simple to align it to the headstock. One challenging thing here will be, if we rotate our handle, we can see that it is limiting to a angle. So I use the advanced function of mate assembly so that I can limit the angle of the handle to the frame. So I use the right plane of the frame and front plane of the pt.3 so that I can give it a limiting function. So first of all, I used a mate so that the right plane of the frame and the front plane of the pt.3 can be perpendicular, and I used the angle function to give it an initial angle of 60 degrees. After that, I limited the angle to the maximum of 120 degrees so that the minimum angle it can turn is 60 degrees and the maximum it can go is 120 degrees, as we can see here. After that, I inserted the fork assembly which we already created and made it concentric to the circles here and made it incident to the top here. we did the same with this fork, and the one thing is they are circular so they can rotate. I used the planes of the 3 and the fork so that they don't move. So I inserted the handlebar holder component. I used this part of the holder so that it can be concentric to these circles present on the 3 and I used incident mate here so that they can rest on it. After that, the mating of handle to the handlebar holder was quite simple, and also I used the plane of handlebar and the handlebar holder and made them incident to each other so that it does not slide in the holder. Remember I told you that a new design goes through many reiterations, many changes, and why I said that was, so the very first diagram where we described the rake angle, trail and the wheelbase of our bike, if we see the sketch, we can see that the wheelbase is going way out of the line, and also our rear wheel is more than the desired diameter. So there are some changes required in the design. Also, this design is not looking good as it is not getting proper strength on this tab and this tab. So our next goal is to check for errors and rectify them. Also, we need to do some modifications in our design so that we can optimize the frame. With this, our design process and the assembly completes here.
So that was the video, guys. I hope you got to learn something from it. As I mentioned in the video that each design goes through various design iterations so that we can get a desired output. So in the next video, we will try to optimize our design and add some new components. Also, these components which I design are always available from GrabCAD, and the link is always available in the description. Please go and have a look. If you loved watching the video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So we will meet in the next video. Until then, adios.